The morning that changed everything, Marcus Rivera had always believed that the perfect cup of coffee could solve any problem. 28. He owned the most beloved coffee shop in downtown Portland, a cozy place called Stellar Brews, where the aroma of freshly ground beans mixed with the chatter of morning regulars. His life was predictably pleasant until the morning everything changed. The silver-skinned woman appeared at his counter like something from a dream or perhaps a very vivid hallucination. Her skin gleamed with an otherworldly luminescence, and her eyes were the deepest violet Marcus had ever seen. She wore what looked like a form-fitting suit made of some shimmering material that seemed to shift colors in the light. "I require assistance with this potentially dangerous apparatus," she announced, pointing at his espresso machine with obvious concern. Marcus blinked, setting down the cup he was cleaning. "Dangerous? That's just Stella, my espresso machine."
"It is."
"She's temperamental but harmless." The woman tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "You have named your technology? This suggests emotional attachment to inanimate objects. Fascinating." Several customers had stopped their conversations to stare, but Marcus found himself oddly protective of this strange, beautiful woman. "First time in a coffee shop? First time on your planet?" she replied, matter-of-factly. "I am Zaravex, diplomatic envoy of the Andorian Collective. I have been sent to study human customs and evaluate your species' readiness for galactic integration." Marcus's hand froze on the espresso cup. Any normal person would have laughed or called security, but something in her violet eyes told him she was completely serious. "Okay, Ambassador Zar, what can I get you to drink?" "I defer to your expertise, Marcus Rivera." He startled. "How did you know my name?" "Your identification badge." She pointed to his name tag, then added, with what might have been a smile, also, "Preliminary scans indicated you are the establishment's proprietor." Despite the impossibility of the situation, Marcus found himself charmed by her formal manner of speaking. He prepared his signature drink, a caramel macchiato with a hint of cinnamon, watching as she observed his every movement with scientific fascination. When he handed her the cup, their fingers brushed, and he felt an electric sensation that had nothing to do with static. Her eyes widened slightly, and he wondered if she felt it too. According to diplomatic protocol, Zara said, accepting the beverage, the first human to show kindness to an envoy becomes their designated cultural guide. "Congratulations, Marcus Rivera. You are now responsible for my integration into human society." "I'm sorry, what now?" Marcus laughed nervously. "The position cannot be declined. I will require lodging, sustenance, and instruction in human social customs." She took a careful sip of the macchiato, her eyes closing in what appeared to be bliss. "This beverage is exceptional. I believe I understand why humans have developed such attachment to this establishment." Marcus looked around at his customers, who were pretending not to eavesdrop while clearly hanging on every word. "Look, Zara, you seem nice, but I can't just— The arrangement is temporary," she interrupted. "My evaluation period lasts 30 Earth days. Surely you can manage 1 month of cultural exchange." There was something in her voice, a hint of vulnerability beneath the formal diplomatic tone that made Marcus's resistance crumble. Maybe it was her otherworldly beauty, or perhaps the way she held the coffee cup like it was precious. But he found himself nodding. 1 month, he agreed. "But you're buying your own coffee." For the first time, Zara's lips curved into something resembling a human smile. "Acceptable terms, Marcus Rivera. When do we begin?" Learning human ways 3 days later, Marcus was beginning to question his sanity. Zara had indeed moved into the small apartment above his coffee shop, and living with an alien diplomat was unlike anything he could have imagined. She approached every human custom with scientific curiosity, from the proper way to use a toothbrush to the social significance of breakfast conversation. "Explain again why humans consume heated bean extract as a daily ritual?" Zara asked, perched on his kitchen counter, wearing one of his oversized t-shirts that somehow looked elegant on her silver-skinned form. Marcus tried not to notice how the morning light caught the subtle patterns in her skin, or how her violet eyes seemed to hold depths he could spend lifetimes exploring. "It's not just about the caffeine," he explained, preparing 2 cups of his special blend. "Coffee brings people together. It's comfort, energy, a moment of peace in a chaotic world. And you've dedicated your life to this beverage because I believe in small pleasures that make life better. He handed her a steaming mug. There. Fingers touching again with that same electric sensation. My grandmother used to say that sharing coffee with someone was sharing a piece of your soul. Zara studied his face with an expression he was learning to recognize as her analytical mode. Your grandmother was wise. On Andor, we have similar rituals involving crystallized starfruit nectar. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun rose over the city, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Marcus found himself studying Zara's profile, the elegant curve of her neck, the way her silver hair caught the light like spun moonbeams. Marcus, she said softly, not looking at him. What I told you about my mission, it's more complicated than I initially revealed. His heart tightened. How complicated? My people aren't unanimous about contacting humanity. There's a faction that believes your species is too volatile, too dangerous. They sent me to find evidence to support immediate contact, while others hope I'll recommend continued isolation. And what do you think so far? Finally, she turned to meet his gaze, and Marcus felt something shift between them. A connection that went beyond cultural exchange or diplomatic duty. I think, she said carefully, that humans are far more complex and wonderful than our preliminary studies suggested. Before he could respond, she stood and moved to the window, her silhouette backlit by the rising sun. Show me more of your world today, Marcus. I want to understand what makes humans so captivating. The word hung in the air between them, loaded with possibility. Marcus joined her at the window, standing close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her unique physiology. There's a farmer's market downtown, he suggested, acutely aware of her proximity. You can see how humans interact when they're just being themselves. Perfect, Zara smiled, and this time it reached her unusual eyes. But first, teach me more about this coffee ritual. I believe I'm developing an appreciation for human customs. As she moved closer, Marcus realized that somewhere in the past 3 days, his protective instincts toward this strange, beautiful woman had evolved into something much more dangerous and infinitely more precious. Enemies among the stars, the attack came without warning during the morning rush at Stellar Brews. Marcus was pulling shots for his regular customers when the front windows exploded inward. Showering the cafe in sparkling glass through the smoke, stepped 3 figures in dark, form-fitting suits that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Envoy Zaravex, the tallest figure, spoke with a voice like grinding stone. By order of Commander Kex, you will cease this contamination immediately. Zara, who had been learning to operate the cash register, stepped protectively in front of Marcus. Her usual formal composure was replaced by something fierce and dangerous. Dex soldiers. I should have known the Separatists would send enforcers. Happening? Marcus demanded, pulling Zara behind the counter as customers screamed and fled. Who are these people? The faction I mentioned, Zara said grimly. They don't want humans to join Galactic society. They're here to ensure my mission fails. The lead soldier raised what was unmistakably a weapon, its surface crackling with energy. Come peacefully, Envoy, and the human will be spared. Like hell, Marcus muttered, grabbing the fire extinguisher from behind the counter. The foam might not stop an energy weapon, but it would provide cover. Zara caught his arm, her violet eyes blazing with emotion he'd never seen before. Marcus, you don't understand what you're facing. These soldiers can... Her warning was cut short as energy bolts seared through the air where they'd been standing. Marcus discharged the fire extinguisher, creating a cloud of white foam as he and Zara dove through the back exit into the alley behind his shop. My apartment, he panted, pulling her toward the external stairs. We can know, Zara stopped him, pressing against the brick wall as more soldiers poured from the damaged coffee shop. They'll have sensors locked onto my biosignature. Anywhere we go, they'll follow. Marcus's mind raced. The old brewery warehouse on 5th Street. It's been abandoned for months, and the walls are thick metal, might interfere with their scans. They ran through Portland's morning streets, dodging between buildings and through narrow alleys. Behind them, Marcus could hear inhuman shouts and the distinctive whine of energy weapons. His lungs burned, but Zara kept pace easily, her alien. physiology giving her endurance he couldn't match. The warehouse loomed before them, its rusted metal sides promising sanctuary. Marcus jimmied the lock with skills he'd learned during a rebellious teenage phase. And they slipped inside just as their pursuers rounded the corner, in the dim light filtering through grimy windows. Marcus finally got a good look at Zara's face. Her usual silver luminescence had deepened to something almost pewter, and her breathing was carefully controlled in a way that suggested fear. "I've put you in danger," she whispered, pressing against the wall beside him. "This isn't what I wanted." Hey. Marcus touched her face gently, surprised by the warmth of her skin. "You didn't ask for psycho-alien soldiers to attack my coffee shop, but I brought them here. My presence, my mission." He silenced her with a kiss that had been building since the moment she walked into his life. Her lips were softer than her metallic appearance suggested, and she tasted like starlight and possibilities. When they broke apart, her eyes were wide with surprise and something deeper. "Whatever happens," Marcus said softly, "I'm glad you crashed into my world, Zara Vex." Outside, footsteps echoed on concrete, and harsh voices called out in a language he didn't recognize, but in that moment, pressed against each other in the dusty warehouse, Marcus felt like he could face anything as long as she was beside him. "They'll find us soon," Zara murmured against his lips. "Then we better make this count," he replied, pulling her closer as danger circled outside their temporary haven. The test of hearts, hidden in the warehouse's maze of abandoned machinery. Marcus and Zara spent hours evading the deck soldiers. As night fell, the search teams finally withdrew. But not before Zara received a message on a device that materialized from her suit like liquid metal. "Commander Kex is calling for immediate extraction," she said, her voice hollow. "I'm being recalled to the mothership." Marcus felt his heart sink. "When?" "Tomorrow at dawn. There's a hidden transport pad in Forest Park." She turned to him and, in the fading light, her silver skin seemed to glow within her radiance. "Marcus, there's something else I haven't told you." They found refuge in an old office on the warehouse's upper level, where broken windows let in the cool night air. Zara sat on a dust-covered desk, her legs dangling like a child, though everything else about her radiated otherworldly elegance. "My mission wasn't just evaluation," she said quietly. "It was a test. The collective wanted to see if I could remain objective about humanity, or if I would become ... compromised." "And have you?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. From the way she looked at him, "Completely," she whispered. "Every protocol I was trained to follow, every diplomatic directive, they all crumble when you smile at me." He moved closer, standing between her knees, his hands resting on her thighs. The strange material of her suit felt warm and alive under his palms. "So what happens now? If I return, I'll be reassigned to deep space exploration. If I don't..." She touched his face with fingers that trembled slightly. "If I don't, I'll be considered a deserter. Cut off from my people, my home, everything I've ever known." "Zara," Marcus said carefully, "what are you saying?" Instead of answering, she kissed him with desperate intensity, her arms wrapping around his neck as if she could hold this moment forever. Her suit seemed to respond to her emotions, becoming more translucent, revealing the luminescent patterns that covered her entire body like living art. "I'm saying," she breathed against his lips, "that in 30 years of diplomatic service, I've never felt anything like what I feel for you." Their lovemaking was gentle and urgent, a conversation in touches and whispers that spoke of impossible choices and tomorrow's uncertainties. Her skin was warm velvet over liquid light. Every kiss tasted of stardust and coffee and the kind of love that changes everything. Afterward, they lay entwined on Marcus's jacket, her head on his chest. As he traced the glowing patterns on her shoulder, "Stay," he said simply. "You don't understand what you're asking. My people will think I've been mentally compromised by primitive human emotions." "Maybe you have been," Marcus smiled, tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing." She was quiet for a long moment, her violet eyes searching his face. There would be consequences. The collective might refuse all future contact with Earth. Your species could remain isolated for centuries because of my choice. Or, Marcus said softly, they might realize that love is the one universal constant that makes any species worth. Knowing dawn, light crept through the broken windows, painting silver highlights in Zara's hair. Soon, she would have to choose between duty and desire. Between the stars and the man who'd shown her that the universe's greatest wonders might be found in a simple cup of coffee shared with someone who cared. Love conquers galaxies. The transport pad in Forest Park materialized at sunrise, a circular platform that seemed to bend light around its edges. Commander Kex stood waiting, tall and imposing in ceremonial armor that gleamed with the authority of the collective. Envoy Zara Vex. His voice carried the weight of interstellar law. You will board immediately for debriefing and reassignment. Zara stood at the forest's edge, Marcus beside her, their hands clasped tightly. The past month felt like a lifetime, and the man who had started as her cultural guide had become the center of her universe. I formally request asylum on Earth, she announced, her voice carrying clearly across the clearing. The commander's expression didn't change. The air around him seemed to crackle with displeasure. Impossible. You have diplomatic immunity, not civilian status. Then I renounce my diplomatic position, Zara replied steadily. I claim refugee status under Article 12 of the Galactic Charter. Marcus squeezed her hand, pride and terror warring. In his chest, she was giving up everything for him, for them, for a love that had bloomed impossibly fast but felt eternal. You would choose this primitive world over your duty to the collective. Commander Kex gestured dismissively toward the city beyond the trees. This male over your entire species? I choose love over duty, Zara said simply. Something our people forgot long ago. The standoff was broken by the arrival of 3 black SUVs. Government agents poured out, weapons drawn but not aimed, clearly. As confused by the situation as everyone else, behind them came Dr. Elena Santos, the lead xenobiologist Marcus had contacted through official channels. Commander Dr. Santos stepped forward diplomatically. On behalf of the United Earths Council, I'd like to propose an alternative solution. What followed was the most surreal negotiation of Marcus's life. While he held Zara close, military officials, alien diplomats and scientists discussed the implications of interspecies relationships, refugee rights, and first contact protocols. The human female makes valid points, Commander Kex finally admitted. Perhaps our evaluation methods require revision. 6 months later, Stellar Brews had become the unofficial embassy for human-alien relations. Marcus served coffee to diplomats from 17 different worlds, while Zara worked as Earth's first interspecies cultural consultant. Their love story had become legend across the galaxy. Proof that connection transcended species, planets, and the vast distances between stars. The wedding took place in the coffee shop where they'd met, with guests that included Marcus's family, Zara's diplomatic colleagues, and a surprising number of aliens who had requested asylum to be with their own human partners. Apparently, love was more contagious than anyone had realized. Do you take this woman, the minister asked, to be your lawfully wedded wife, across all planets, in all galaxies, for as long as your species shall live? I do, Marcus said, looking into Zara's violet eyes and seeing their future among the stars. And do you, Zara, Vex of Andor Prime, take this human male to be your husband, forsaking the far reaches of space for the close embrace of Earth? I do, she replied, her silver skin glowing with happiness, though I should mention that forsaking space is no longer necessary. The collective has approved our application for joint diplomatic missions. Marcus grinned. Honeymoon among the stars? The entire universe, Zara promised, just before he kissed her amid cheers from both their worlds, as rice and crystallized starfruit petals showered down around them. Marcus reflected that sometimes the most ordinary moments sharing coffee with a stranger, offering kindness without expecting anything in return, could change not just your life, but the course of galactic history. Outside Stellar Brews, sign in 17 languages read, "Coffee, connection, and cosmic love served. Daily."